Have you ever had a certain smell or an image that got your attention and brought you back to a different time and a different place? It was a reminder of a memory of something in the past, an event that you experienced. All across our nation, we have things called memorials that draw our attention, that take us back to another time and another place and remind us of something. On Memorial Day, we'll see flags flying and beautiful memorials across our nation, reminding us of events, of people, our history. I'm Chaplain Dan Burris, and I want to continue our Guard Your Wellness series and talk about your spiritual fitness. Perhaps one of those images or symbols you thought of was a religious one. Religious symbols have been used throughout human history to remind us of something, to tell us something. Have you been to a religious service and thought, why do we do the same thing each week? Or why don't they redecorate around here? We've had these same pictures up for years. Some faiths even have the same smell when you enter the building. The services have the same prayers prayed, the same routine followed. We call it ritual or liturgy, but why? Why do we do that? The answer is to remind us. It's to help us remember. Those religious routines are not just meaningless ritual, and oh yes, they can be if we allow it, but we can't. Because these religious rituals are filled with deep, meaningful, spiritual truths, reminders. In Joshua chapter 4, the people had just crossed over the waters safely. And Joshua tells the people to build a memorial made of stones. And he tells them that when you pass here and your children ask, what do those stones mean? You're to tell them the story. You're to remind them. Remind the generations to come of the faithfulness of their God to see them through. Going to our place of worship each week, wearing a religious symbol on our jewelry, religious practices that we do daily, it's a great habit to practice our faith, but we just can't let it become a meaningless practice. We must know why we do and celebrate those things because they are all tremendous reminders of our faith and the faithfulness of our God. Now, I'm not a Catholic priest, but I have attended Catholic Mass. In the service, the priest will ask the people to pass the peace. It's a symbol of relationship we have with each other and the grace that we share together in our faith. In my Protestant church, we've changed this to greet someone. We have a greeting time. Say hey to someone. But the greeting time was more than this. This passing the peace was a time for people to settle their grievances. It was a time to forgive each other, to make their human relationships right before they would go and practice their faith, before they would come to their God and receive of communion. Do you see it had great significance? I must forgive my brother or my sister before I would come to receive forgiveness from God. But if we don't know the why of the ritual, it can become meaningless and the importance can be lost, and before you know it is just a, hey, how are you doing this week? Rather than the significance of what the ritual of the faith really meant. Perhaps your spiritual fitness has grown stale or meaningless. Perhaps you need to go back and see the whys of the rituals that your faith practices. You will find they're great reminders of our faith, and they're the why of how we can trust our God. You see, religious practice is not at all meaningless. It is very powerful and will increase our spiritual fitness and our spiritual strength together as people. You know, we are all in this together. And as we practice our spiritual faith, It will make us spiritually fit. It will make us resilient people. And it will remind us of our faith and why we believe and trust in our faith so much.